Hi everyone, just before we get into another episode of What a Load of Bulls, we just want to give a shout out to our partners, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Newcastle Car and Truck Rental are a locally owned company servicing Newcastle and the Hunter. Todd Holden and family pride themselves on being part of the local community, and you feel that when you step through their doors. It isn't a different person every time you call, it's the same people taking care of business and taking care of you. So next time you're in need of a rental, be it a truck to move, a ute for those everyday DIY jobs, or a car to get the family around on a day out, be sure to contact the team at Newcastle Car and Truck Rental by visiting www.newcastlerental.com or by calling 02 49 081 081. And don't forget to tell them DJ and Simon sent you. Welcome back, everyone. Episode 65 of the What a Load of Bulls podcast. We've got a pretty quick intro here. So DJ's back. Simon, say hello.
Hello.
And we're going to crack on now because we have got a special guest in for you this week. As Simon was off last weekend gallivanting around Brisbane, I'm thinking, who am I going to get on here to have a chat with? So we've gone back down to the What a Load of Bulls farm. We've gone out to the goat paddock and we've picked up one of our goats from last year, and it is our Welsh goat, Robert Weale. Robert, welcome to the show, mate.
Good morning, boys. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you, and delighted to have a chat with you, boys.
No, it's great to have you on here, mate. Obviously, like you partook a little bit by commenting on Facebook last year when we did our What a Load of Bulls goat debate. So it was good to actually have some input from you, and great to have you on now and actually talk about your career.
No, delighted to be on your show. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Right, so we'll crack on with a bit of an introduction into what the career was about. So we always look at cap numbers. Obviously, Welsh, it was the same for us back in the UK too, growing up. We didn't really have cap numbers back then like we do in Australia. So you don't actually have a Welsh cap number, but it is something they've introduced recently, you've told me. You have played 115 times outdoor between 1982 and 2017. Now, and 57 times indoor between 1993 and 2012. And that is only for British Isles, isn't it, Robert? You didn't get caps for going to Commonwealth Games or World Championships?
No, correct. As you say, recent introduction into Welsh lawn bowls that they've introduced the cap numbers. So that's something we didn't have previously. A record 115 outdoor caps of Wales. And then indoors, because I've started sort of playing later on the indoor circuit, just purely because there wasn't an indoor green close to me. So it wasn't possible to play indoors where I lived at the time. So 57 indoor, and then that led to some 9 senior indoor caps. But yeah, they're only awarded for our British Isles Home International Series. So when we annually come up against, obviously, England, Scotland, Ireland, and outdoors, it was the Channel Islands involved as well. I guess if you added on the representative games that I played, World, Commonwealth, and all the test matches and whatever, it's probably a huge number. Try to think what that total may be.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty big one, you think. So, World Outdoor Championships, a gold, a silver, and 3 bronze. Commonwealth Games, 2 gold, 3 silver, 1 bronze. You won the World Indoor Singles in 2000. You've got a gold, a silver, and a bronze from the Atlantic Rim Championships. British Isles titles, you've got 6 outdoor titles, 1 junior singles, 4 fours, 1 singles, and 2 indoor pairs, and 2 indoors, which is pairs and triples. You were the Welsh Fours champions 9 times, and it was with a full wheel rink, all family, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. Welsh Fours, we've played as a family. The first time we actually won the Welsh Fours, it would have been with myself skipping, Dad playing third, oldest brother David at second, and Brian, one of the younger brothers, leading. It was purely at the time the youngest brother of all, Stuart, wouldn't have been old enough to play then. He was probably 6, 7, something like that. To win Welsh Fours with Dad and, your brothers, like, that's fantastic. But it was a case of when Stuart was old enough, Stuart was introduced into the rink and poor old Dad was dropped.
Yeah. How good's that? That's just a great story to have, isn't it, to look back on?
No, as I say, it's just fantastic playing. Well, it's not always fantastic playing with family because you know them so well. And there can be a few fallouts or whatever. But when you do get the success to win those titles and obviously go on to win British Isles titles, listen, I don't think there is a better feeling than winning things with family. The emotion when you do that is obviously second to none. You can win things individually, but I think it just becomes a little bit more special when it is family.
Well, leading on from that, you had the Welsh pairs 5 times, once with your uncle, and then 4 times with David. And you've got the Welsh mixed pairs 11 times, and one of those was with your daughter Rhiannon in 2010. So you like to win stuff with a family for sure.
No, absolutely, and sort of the Welsh mixed pairs. A number of those times, I think 8 times, I won that with the legend of ladies Welsh bowls in Wales, Betty Morgan. So quite a formidable pair at the time. But the last one with Rhiannon in 2010, when Rhiannon was basically started playing, was old enough to play again, a special moment to get to the final and win that one. I think it's semi-final, we beat none other than John Tomlinson, who's fantastic Welsh player. So we performed well to get that one over the line as well.
Yeah, awesome, man. Fantastic. Current position, so there's nothing really in Welsh Bowls at the minute. You resigned as the TM in 2022, and you're starting a new job on Monday, the 2nd of Feb. You were inducted into the Welsh Sports Hall of Fame in 2022. You were inducted, one of the inaugural inductees in November last year, into the World Bowls Hall of Fame. And just a few other things as well. World Champions in Christchurch in 2013. And you got a bronze there, sorry. And in Hong Kong, you got a bronze and a silver from time over there as well. So made a well-distinguished and well-established career, and one that I'm sure you're very proud of over the years.
No, very, very proud of that, DJ, and thanks for that and running through that. I've just thought of one thing maybe I didn't put down on there. It was, and it was a good prestigious tournament, 1988, invited over for the Australian Bicentenary Bowls celebration. And it's actually a British Isles team at the time that were invited over to participate. Luckily, I've got a pick as one of the 5 there. Wales actually won the flip of the coin.
Yeah, wow.
And had 2 players. Yeah, myself and Will Thomas. I didn't go that one in the singles, I probably had, but Will Thomas in the pairs, we won the tournament, beating none other than Peter Bellis and Rowan Brassie in the final. Quite a good win in that final.
We like to have people on here with a few name drops, and that's 2 pretty fair names to drop there as well, wasn't it? All right, so where we'll get into it, mate. So where did it all start for you? Who got you into the sport? How were you first introduced to it? Where did you first start playing?
Yeah, so DJ, I think with obviously all that, family playing, it's presumed really that it was always in the family, a family sport, and that it was just a continuation. But no, that's not the truth. In fact, I first rolled a bowl and started playing the same evening as my dad started playing. And that was only due to the fact that his best friend, Eddie Gummer, they played football, they played darts, they played whatever. But Eddie had started playing bowls in Prestine, my hometown. And the club was struggling back in the day. So we're talking about early 70s, 1974. And after a couple of months, Eddie had convinced my dad to walk down to the green and have a go at bowls, support the club, help the club don't fold. And I was the one son. I've got a sister as well, but I was the one put my hand up with Dad and said, I'll come for a walk with you. Didn't know where we were going. Got down the bowls green. He met Eddie and they onto the green, started playing bowls, left me on the side. And I was just like, look, I want to go at that. So they got some old, it used to be a little shed, basically, a sack of old lignin vitae bowls. And they just got me 4 bowls and a jack, put me on the end of the green. I had a roll. It was great. I thought it was, quite decent. Walking home, Dad said, well, that was all right. That was quite a hard game, wasn't it? And I went, no, I thought it was okay. I could get quite close to that jack with them bowls, So, and that was the start, really. Didn't look back, I guess.
Yeah, nice. And when was your first taste of success then, mate? Was it a club title? Was it a regional title? Was it a Welsh title?
Probably first taste of winning something was, I guess, in the club sort of pairs or triples. you had to be 14 back in the day then to play, but they sneaked me in sort of 12, let me play in the tournaments and everything. So I had a little bit of success there. But the one that sticks in my mind really is when I was 14, we entered a local open tournament in Mid Wales, the Raider Singles. And it was one of these competitions where they had sort of 2 different days of qualification and then a final the following weekend. Well, we went up the one weekend and both myself and Dad qualified to go to the finals weekend. When they did the draw on the finals weekend, we were drawn in opposite semi-finals. So we went on, played in the morning, we both won. Then popped off the green for a bit of lunch. Dad was having a chat and he was like, don't worry, Rob, I won't be too hard on you in the final. We'll sort of have a nice game out there. I wasn't too pleased with that because obviously very competitive from a young age. So I went and beat Dad, I think 21-11 in the final. And that was it, It was quite, big trophy and whatever. So that was great. Welsh-wise, even though I could enter at 14 into the Welsh sort of competitions, but the age category at the time, or the youngest age category, was under 35. So I thought, well, I can't, it's no point me at 14 entering that competition because I would have no chance. But following year at 15, I entered the county under 35s, managed to win that, and actually had a run all the way to the Welsh final and lost to the previous year's winner. So I think I turned a few heads, if you like, beating grown men on my way all the way through to the final.
Yeah, well, it's a good way to put yourself on the map, I suppose, mate. So after that, when was your first representative selection and how did that feel for you?
So representative-wise, it would have been at 14, so abided by the age rule. And so it was selection for our county or regional team. That was great. So that would have been 1977. And listen, structure in Wales would be that you need to play county and play representative games to go on that pathway and be eligible for Welsh trials and selections. So yeah, in 1982, after I guess playing some solid league bowls in the county, got in for a Welsh trial. Didn't really know much about, this was all new basically for me and the family. So to get a Welsh trial, it was not really knowing what was what, not having that expectation. Listen, I trialled well. I managed to get the get the pick basically for the full team. So that was a big surprise to me, really.
Yeah, nice. It was always good when it happens that way, isn't it? No expectations, and you can go out and perform your best and get the chocolates from that. Okay, Robert. So we're, as you know, me and Simon's based in Australia and that. So just give us a rundown on what club bowls is like in Wales. So who did you represent both indoor and outdoor?
So outdoor is quite simple for me. Just one club, and that's it. Prestine, outdoor, hometown. And with me moving across the border into Hereford, I've not sort of changed. I always travel back to play my bowls in Prestine. So it's sort of 25 miles. So it's a 45 minute, single way trip. But listen, I've never had any intentions of changing from the club there. Indoors, as I mentioned earlier, there was not really an indoor stadium close to me. So we used to play on some roll-up carpets, maybe about 29 metres long, sort of in leisure centres in Knighton and Landrindod. Yeah. But the first proper indoors I played was in Herefordshire, in Wormlow. So I had about 3 years of playing in England, representing obviously the club and the county in the English structure. I didn't allow my name to go forward for an English trial at the time indoors, just because it would have been odd playing against the guys I represent, Wales with outdoor. And I knew there was a stadium being built in Radnorshire, Landrindod, Wales. So I sort of waited for that. And even a phone call one day phone went at home, and I think it's my sister answered, and she popped her head over the hall and said, "David Bryant's on the phone for you." So I thought this was a wind up, and I was like, "No way!"
They brought out the big dogs.
Yeah, I was like, "No, you're joking!" Like, so I picked up the phone, and sure enough, it was David Bryant. Obviously, knew I was playing indoor bowls in England, and was like, "Would you put your name through for a trial? You'll be in the team. No doubt you'll be one of our skips and whatever." But I had to politely decline the great man and legend and say it wasn't for me. I was going to wait and hang on to play indoor bowls in Wales and represent Wales indoors. So that was quite a good one. But so yeah, indoors then I played Landry Wales, and then I moved down, played in South Wales a little bit in Islwyn, which is Pontefraith, with a very strong team down there for a number of years, and used to win the championship and knockout cups and whatever. So so that's it. So short resume of clubs, really. I like to think I'm pretty loyal and tend to stick around.
Well, the outdoor one's pretty special, mate, because I got the outdoor, to me, growing up, because we played the outdoor more than we did any stadium back at home, the outdoor was the pinnacle. So for you to actually stay at Pristine from the age of 12, 13, all the way through all your Commonwealth Games and World representations, like that just must be a real feather in the cap for the people at Pristine, mate. So all credit to you for doing that and not being dragged away. And you sort of touched on it there too, just about like knockout cups and stuff. So for all those that aren't familiar with bowls in the UK, what is the setup like league formats, cups and that? Talk us through what you sort of went through representing your club back at home.
So outdoor bowls in Wales and our Mid-Wales region. So obviously Mid-Wales, quite a rural area, so not that many clubs. So in our league structure, there's only 9 clubs. So we play, obviously, league throughout the season, home and away. It's actually a 4-rink structure, so 16 players. Listen, Prestine, London, Wales, we're the big hitters, if you like. The league championship is normally decided between games with those teams. A couple of clubs are sort of coming up more recently, like Tulgarth and Bilthwell. So there's a little, competition is growing in that respect. There's a knockout cup for the whole Wales area, which is the Carruthers Shield. Now, that is initially played in regions to qualify. So again, you're playing the same clubs to qualify to the open draw. If you do qualify, you're normally in a pool of 64 clubs, and it is an open draw now. So each round is an open draw, and you could have a home draw all the way to the final. So that is the big one, really, when you test yourself out of the area to go against what we would term as the bigger teams from South Wales. Small club like Prestine, we've punched above our weight, and we've actually got to the final on 3 occasions, which, as I say, small rural club, fantastic achievement, but we've never quite managed to get over the line and win that. But it's still a good performance, that. So, South Wales clubs, they've obviously got this similar setup, clubs in regions and regional qualifiers for the knockout Carruthers Shield. But they've also got a private greens setup, which is a very strong setup, private greens League 1 and 2. So names like Jonathan Tomlinson, Daniel Salmon, Jared Breen, Ross Owen, they sort of play in that structure, which helps their game and pushes them on that pathway performance-wise, to represent Wales. Regional and county-wise, outdoors, 10 counties. That's played in a 6-ring setup, and obviously two groups of 5 counties play off, get the final for that. Senior county championship, similar. So once you're over 60, which I am now, you can play in the senior county championships. Indoor-wise, slightly different. Indoors, you would have a Premier Division with 8 clubs. It's a 6-rink setup indoors. And then you have a Division 1 underneath that of 7 clubs. You get a North Regional League, which is only 3 clubs, and that's the very top of North Wales. And similarly, you get a Knockout Cup, which all clubs can enter. And that's, if you like, a second team league, if you want, or a merit league of 10 clubs. So that's a basic, quick talk through of our indoor and outdoor setup over here.
Yeah, nice. So we look back at some of the guys sort of back in the UK, and there's a few around there you could probably say are either an indoor or an outdoor sort of specialist. They didn't really excel at both. Was there one that you felt suited you better, or are you just a good all-rounder and you just enjoyed both?
No, to be honest, I didn't really have a preference. Listen, I played outdoor longer for the reasons I've explained, but I guess with myself, I think I've shown the adaptability throughout, to play on different surfaces. Obviously different conditions, different greens, weather, whatever. So no, I've enjoyed both and appreciate the challenges that both give me, but, very happy to play indoor or outdoor, to be honest.
Okay, moving on to the rep selection stuff, all the juicy stuff. So how old were you when the first Wales call-up came? And what was the first event that you were picked to represent Wales in?
So, yeah, we mentioned the first Welsh trials. So that was 1982. So I would have been 19 at the time. And I guess, it's sort of at that point, sort of fairly young to be trialling for your country. Managed to get the pick, and the first tournament was the British Isles Home International Series up in Ayr, Scotland. So that was quite interesting. So very surprised to be selected. Didn't know what to expect, but what a great feeling.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So do you remember that first cap? What rink were you on? Who was it against? Who did you play with?
You're really testing this old guy's memory now. But yeah, it was at that time, the international series was 5 rinks, so 20 players. I can remember getting to Ayr, and we looked at the main green that the games were going to be played on. And for whatever reason, it had been covered in plastic sheeting prior to the games. Not sure what the reason was, but they removed the sheeting, and honestly, the green was in parts. One sort of section was green, or 1/3 was green. One section moved from sort of green to yellow to mud, and the other part was yellow. So it was quite strange. Our rink that we played on was slap bang in the middle of that, and it was sort of it was half sort of mud, half yellow. Our rink, but yeah, I can remember Bryn Hawkins, the skip, was like, well, just ignore that, just get on with the game. And so we did. But listen, Bryn Hawkins was the skip, Danny Price was the third, and Malcolm Bishop was second. I know Mal is still playing balls, actually played against him in the Welsh knockout last year. But sadly, we've lost Bryn and Danny, and Danny only late in 2025. Our rink was successful over those games. I think we drew one, I think we won our others. And Wales won the championship. So it doesn't happen all too often, like for Wales to win the championship. So what a start. And I can remember the captain saying to me, don't think this happens every time, you play an international. So this is something special.
That was probably your time to turn around and say that's what you call the Robert Weale effect. First cap, first win for Wales in a long time.
Yeah, well, not sure lead in.
All right, so
gives us that result, but I made a contribution, no doubt.
Well, you must have done, mate, because it wasn't too long after that you were picked to represent at higher honours again. So I think I'm right in saying Aberdeen 1984 was your first World Championships, and you were actually the youngest competitor there. How old were you there?
So 84, yeah, I got the pick for the World Championships in Aberdeen, Westburn Park. So I was 21 then. Yeah, obviously in those first, it would have only been 2, maximum of 3 home internationals playing lead that managed to impress enough to get that selection. So again, yeah, wow, 21 and rocking up to one of our biggest events in the game. Absolutely gobsmacked to be, in a way, fast-tracked to get that selection.
There wouldn't be too many. Sort of in the 70s and 80s, it still was sort of an older generation sport at that level, wasn't it? A lot more sort of experienced players were playing. So you were almost a bit of a, I don't know what the word is, but you were one of the first ones really to come through as a really, really young age. So you were, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. And that was something always picked up, I think, media-wise, that somebody obviously getting a Welsh selection at sort of 19, so below 20, but then early 20s picking a major. It was always that bit of news, about a focus being youngest competitor. And yeah, it was probably your more mature player. I guess at that age, I was thinking everybody was probably 60 or whatever, but that wasn't the case. Mature guys, and being in amongst that. But that helped me learn, I think, so much, getting experience from these fellas and listening to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you definitely seem to establish yourself as a specialist lead in those early days. So what events did you actually compete in Aberdeen, and how well did you go?
Yeah, and you mentioned the specialist lead, and that's something I think, in a way, has been lost a bit, isn't it? That we're losing specialist leads and people willing to stay on the mat. And now, obviously, my first 4 caps of Wales, I stayed on the mat. But at the same time, in the club, I was asking, I want to stay on the mat because that's what I'm playing internationally. So I put the focus in and practice, actually specialise in that position. But yeah, I played lead in the triples in 4s up in Aberdeen. Yeah, again, I'm saying, look, it was new to me. I was quite green, maybe quite shy, whatever. And these older guys were looking after me. And that was great. It was learning on the job, honestly. But, as I say, the biggest championship in the bowls, and I'm rocking up to practice, and you've got Brian Bellis, Word, and yeah, those are the guys I've heard about and want to sort of copy and see if I could be half as good as them.
Yeah, obviously a great experience then as well, mate. So no medals from that first one, but how did we go in the triples and the 4s?
Yeah, no medals. So result-wise, not great. Memory-wise, it was played in 2 groups, 11 teams. Triples, we rate in the group. I think it's something like 1-3, drew 1, lost 6. So not fantastic. 4s, we were 5th in the group. An even split record, 5-5. This isn't all from memory. I've done a little bit of research and looked at some of the scores, but in the 4s, we finished plus 50 shots. So to me, we must have won, those 5 games by good scores, and probably had some close losses in that. So maybe not too far away, but it was certainly a fantastic experience. And there's me, as I say, at the time, people used to call them, the balls I played with were just a small size 3 maybe, and they're catalogue balls, bought out of the catalogue. So it was always a bit of a joke at the time, like, he's playing with catalogue balls, and he's playing World Championships.
So none of the speckled and the multicolours that we see nowadays in?
Yeah, you could have 2 colours, couldn't you? You know, either have black or brown, that was it. Yeah. That's your choice.
That was it back in the day. That's what it was like when we first started as well. But we've obviously done all right. I mean, as you said, it maybe wasn't the results that you wanted. You just came fifth in the triples, I beg your pardon. But 2 years later, first taste of Commonwealth Games. That was in Edinburgh in 1986, and a first gold medal on the international stage, mate. So how was that? How was the games as a whole, and then obviously standing on the top of the podium for the first time?
Yeah, so Edinburgh, and obviously to get the pick for that, obviously must have done something right in the World Bowls to still get there. Preparation-wise, Pride Lab was a little bit different. Wales decided to move me up to skip prior to the games. Even though the selection was done, I was leading in the 4s. They made me skip in the home international series, which was maybe a little bit odd because, as I said, I'm a player who concentrated on that specialist lead, and that's what I wanted to do. Anyway, played in the international series prior to this, played skip and lost to Scotland, I think, by 20, lost to Ireland, I think, by 20, and was promptly moved down to second for the last game as a little bit of protection. So that wasn't sort of ideal, but listen, all part of the learning curve. But Edinburgh, yeah, that was the games where there was a boycott. So not all the countries sort of attended. I think it was around the time of UK government had supported some of the apartheid policies and whatever. So there's a lot of, boycotting games, all the African countries, etc., etc. So and I remember that we were not staying in the Commonwealth Games village as well. So we were in Leith Nautical College, where all bowlers stayed. So we're a little bit separated from the main buzz, I think, of village life and everything like that. But anyway, we, got on to it. Competition-wise, there were 12 countries entered in the fours. So it was you played everybody. I can remember as we went through, we had a good start and we won, I think, our first 3 games. So you're looking at the table and you're on top and you start to think, well, this is going all right. Let's try and keep it going. We had a very good skipper, very good mentor, Jim Morgan, very controlled, very well disciplined, controlled the rink, actually, in my opinion. And as we went through and we're still sort of up the top of the table, he's sort of putting our expectations, checking us back, sort of going, well, we're doing okay at the moment, but we've done nothing yet, sort of thing. At the end of the day, we finished top of the table, winning 8, drawing 1 and losing 2. And I think it was the 10th game that we actually won the gold. We knew we had secured gold after playing our 10th game, so we had to go back on the green and play another game knowing we won gold. So that was one of the best feelings of relaxation, just swinging your bowl through and letting it go, knowing you've already got gold and it didn't really matter. So, yeah, brilliant. Being on the podium with those guys, yeah, anthem. And funnily enough, the Welsh ladies actually won gold in Edinburgh as well. So we had 2 medal presentations, I think, that day with both Welsh fours being on that podium.
Yeah, awesome, mate. This is the part where when we've had the other guests on, we sort of ask them to compare games because everyone's sort of been to 1, 2, 3 sort of games. You have been to a heap, so you're probably the best one to look at how the games have progressed over time. Like from that first one in 1986, where you sort of spoke about it didn't really feel like a games at the time. You were a little bit isolated from the village for whatever reasons, political reasons, if that's what it was. But you've played all the way through to 2014, collecting 6 medals, mate. So, like, can you just compare how the games have developed over time and maybe some slight differences or some big differences you've noticed from all the games that you've been to?
Yeah, quite a difficult one to recap, I guess. Like 86 through to 2014, but going through, I think it's the different number of entries, I guess, into each of the individual events can fluctuate. Obviously, mentioned the boycott, so there's only 13 teams, 86, and playing everybody in the group. I've tried to do a little bit of research on this and look through as to numbers and formats as we went through. So 1990, you're up to 17 teams, again, 2 groups. So, yeah, you're playing 8 sort of games in your group there. I know we lost 1 game in our group in 90, and that was it. You sort of have a bronze medal playoff because there's only 1 bronze awarded. Nowadays, you get to that stage and there's normally 2 bronze awarded. So we lost 1 game in the group, lost the bronze playoff, and that was it. Get nothing. 94 in Canada, Victoria, Canada, we're up to 18 teams. Again, 2 groups. If you win your group, you get the final. Remember that we lost to Rex Johnson and Cameron Curtis 18-14 in that final. That was myself and John Price. And I know the bronze was awarded to the runners-up at that games. So kudos to them. 98, we're up to 19 teams. Again, we're playing in 2 groups. So again, you go win your group to play in the final. That one, again, Australia. Brett Dupre and Mark Jacobson. Myself and Will Thomas lost 16-14 in that final. And following that, go to 2002, again, a larger entry now. So that's where it changes a bit in the format. So you go to 4 sort of smaller groups. And to me, that makes it more cutthroat. You can't, if you lose a game in a smaller group, you're really playing catch up. Your margin for error sort of drops there when it becomes a smaller groups. That's where you really got to be on the team and focus, because I think you've seen Commonwealth Games results over the years and anything can happen, So, yeah, you got to be on it. 2006, again, Melbourne, 22 teams, so your smaller groups. I think we might talk about that one more later. Lost in the final to Kelvin. Obviously a real close game. 2010, you back up now to 19 teams, or back down in sort of numbers, 19 teams in two groups. So again, it's about qualification from your group. But a little change in this was that it's just not the top two that go through for your semis. Now your format's gone to your top three from the group get through to the competition, knockout stages. So when you're in that group and you're following your path through after games, it's all about qualifying top three, in my opinion. So as long as you're going to get into that top three, that's what you need to do. And again, 2014, two groups again. So it's just little changes about numbers of teams, group sizes, and knowing what you need to do, really.
Yeah, right. What about off the green? Is there much differences off the green with how the games have developed? Like it's obviously the further we get in, the more we progress, the more commercialized these events come as well. Could you really see the difference in those games as well as it sort of progressed through from the 80s into the 2014?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's become a bigger world event, more exposure as we went through those games. Number of sports, you have your core sports which have to be in. So development in sports, different sports being there, and numbers of athletes, I would say, as well in these other sports. So your games villages actually just got bigger and bigger, more buzz around the place. But selling it worldwide and more exposure on commercial platforms, social media platforms. So it helps bowls and the name of bowls to grow, I believe.
Absolutely. Just before we move on to some of those results in the singles, any celebrity meetings from any of those Commonwealth Games that you want to spruik about?
Yeah, it's always good to name drop and people you've seen, isn't it? But listen, I don't know, back in the like Welsh athletes like Colin Jackson, Jamie Bulch, like great characters, isn't it? Roger Black, great hurdler, but who's bigger than Usain Bolt? Like when he rocks up, there's certainly a buzz around the village if he's walking around, so it's fantastic. And I managed to get my mates up in Glasgow. I got them sort of 4 tickets for the athletics and had a front row seat for the 100 meters next to the start line. So they were absolutely, amazed with that view they got on there. So yeah, nothing bigger than that.
Awesome. I'll have to say, but I think Mark Casey and Wayne Turley still have the top of the tree. They met the Queen, so they did in Melbourne by pure accident. They were running late for a bus, they tell us, and they managed to bump into the Queen in the village. So I have to probably still give them top of the podium for that.
Yeah, no, it's and that's what you get around the village, isn't it? You get tours by royalty and everything, and you get invited to functions, and which I've attended, and the Queen's been there, and Duke of Edinburgh back in the day, Prince Charles as he was then, and Camilla walking around the practice athletics track in Delhi. So we had a good chat with them. So yeah, it's you're rubbing shoulders, aren't you, with creme de la creme, the elite royalty.
Clubs love their greens, but let's be honest, constant maintenance is a pain in the budget. A MacMax canopy helps protect your synthetic from UV, meaning an extended lifespan of your carpet and less ongoing maintenance. That means more money left in the kitty for the important things like pies and prizes. For savings on your greens, make it a MacMax. All right, so back on the green. So the singles, like everyone knows, singles is the blue ribbon event for bowls at the Commonwealth Games. You've got a full set of medals. Started off with a bronze in 2002, a semi-final loss to Bobby Donnelly. I think that was 21-17. You moved on to 2006, which we sort of touched on there. A 2-1 tiebreak loss in the final to Kelvin Kirko, who then ripped his shirt off before finally getting the gold in Delhi. So can you talk us through how you kept coming back after that? So it's not necessarily disappointment, because like you go away, you win a medal, these things, it's got to be maybe disappointment at the time, but you got to look back with, I've won a medal, this is unbelievable. But 2002 bronze, 2006 silver, and then to come back in Delhi. So what was it made you kept coming back and just wanting to improve?
So I think for me, And as you say, there's still successful games because you medal. Any games you go to, that's the target, to come away with a medal. So obviously I've done that by bronze in 2002 and silver in 2006. But for me, it was a case of unfinished business. I think, I've been so close. You want to get that pinnacle of winning gold, and look at it whatever way you want. But I think we all term the singles as the blue ribbon, don't we, event in these major championships. So to be close in 2002, losing a close semi-final, I think I've played well on, obviously the greens in Manchester were quite soggy and boggy, but it did well there. I thought I was unlucky to lose 21-17. 2006, yeah, so close on that one. And again, I think I played really well in that game. Lost a tight first set, even though I thought, I was feeling on top. But lost it 7-4. And it was like, keep going in that game, and which I did. Second set, I had a comfy second set win. And that tiebreak, there was second end of that tiebreak. I think Kelvin, if you talk to Kelvin now, when I was laying shot and I was standing there at the head and my fingers were crossed behind my back because I knew my dad was in the crowd behind me watching, and I thought this could be it. And Kelvin released the ball and he didn't think he was right. I'm sure he didn't. And so it seemed to get a kick up the green, a little bit of a straighten. And he just ran into the head and wasn't sure whether he was shot or not. And it was a measure, but Kelvin got it, So it was that thing about being so close, not quite getting over that line. So that gave me the drive. Look, these singles have played well. I want to get there again. So let's get back there again for 2010 and get the pick. And that's what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. So we'll move on then to Delhi in depth then, because that's where the next goal came. Obviously, the first one came in 86. And now we're on to the singles. So let's look at the results here, mate. So you touched on that earlier. It was all about getting top three in the section. So you lost 3 games in that section, but you came through in third spot.
Yeah, exactly. And as I was saying, when you know the competition format and your target is, when you look at that, is top 3, and that gets you through to the playoffs. So that's what you need to do. So it's a case of, if you lose a game in the group, it's to not get too down or despondent, that you keep going. And that's what I did. Yeah, I lost 3 games, but I think one in the group was against Sam Tolchard. And that's the thing, when you can lose to people in groups and then you play them in the knockout. So that game doesn't matter then. It's a whole new game. It's just, it's going to be on a different green. It's going to be a different time of the day. So it's just a restart, really. But I guess Delhi, for me, I've got to mention, but prior to the games, wasn't great preparation for me. I went down with the infamous Delhi belly before we started. So I was actually in isolation for 48 hours, kept away from the rest of the whole Welsh team, bowlers, athletes, whatever, because I was practicing the one day and I nearly collapsed. My temperature was off the scale, and the medics got me, and yeah, they were so concerned. It was, get him away from you, get him isolated, and let's get the fluids into him, get him back up to speed. So I missed practice for a couple of days. So to come away after and get the results, I was, well pleased with that.
Unbelievable. So that was, not great preparation. You've gone into the group. You've lost 3 games, come out third spot. As you said, you lost to Sam. So you go into the knockouts, and we'll look at the knockout stages first. So first up in the knockouts was Paul Foster, drawn in the first set, won the second set 8-5 to get over Paul. And then it was young gun Sam Tolchard, who had already played in the group. So you've lost the first set 5-9 in the semi-final, and then you've won the second set 8-3 before taking out the tie-break 4-0 to make yourself into the gold medal match again. Talk us through those 2 games.
Yeah, so when the draw's done and you see you playing, obviously got Paul Foster. So I think at the time, a lot of people that's the one people wanted to avoid. But I didn't look at it like that. I was like, yeah, it's Paul. I know Paul, played Paul, obviously, back in the UK on World Bowls Tour and whatever. won games, lost games against Paul. So that was okay for me. And it was a focus. It was just to, well, this is the nitty gritty. This is what you come for. These are the games where you got to go out and perform. So I knew it was going to be close and, how to play good bowls and whatever. So drawn first set, nothing in it. So on those greens, it was patience. Just keep being patient. And listen, I playing the weighted shot on those was quite hard. So it was just get balls in the area and keep going. And which is what I managed to do. Just eked out that second set 8-5. So that was it. It's regroup. And I know on that day it was up the green, play the game, then it was back down to the village. So again, it was reset. So I got Sammy in the semi-final. Sam was 21, I believe, in the game. So similar to me, like way back in when I'm 21 sort of playing. So I'd lost to Sam in the group and I'd lost 2-0. But as I said, it was different green, different time of day. So it's a clean slate. And remember from that game, first set, lost 9-5. Sam was playing a short length on the green and he was able to pack some balls into the head, drawing really well. And I think a little bit of experience in my head then was, do you take the jack, give the jack away or whatever? But I took the jack for the second set and thought, right, none of this sort of shorter length stuff. The greens weren't, as you know, weren't easy in Delhi, sort of artificial outdoors. So I thought, what I want to do on this, I want to make it hard. I want to make it hard for Sam to feel comfortable about getting sort of balls in the area. So I lengthened the jack. And what I thought was going to be the hardest sort of point in the green to play to. And that's a little thing that back in the day, David Bryant said to me at one time. He said, it's not about getting, touches 6 inches away, whatever. He said, if you're on a rink and there's a difficult part of the green and you think you can beat your opponent to that difficult part of the green, even if you're getting shots 2 feet, 2.5 feet away, that's what you do. So I thought, right, I'm going to play that. I'm going to challenge that. And then I could see in that second set, Sam becoming a little bit frustrated because he wasn't playing like the first set, packing balls in. And he's moving off the green, talking to his manager, John Bell at the time, having a bit of a chat about what was happening and why he wasn't sort of playing as well. So that helped me through. And again, tiebreak, keep the jack, play my length, and get over the line. So that's the way that one worked, in my opinion.
That seems like a great example of just experience coming over the youthful exuberance. As you said, like Sam's he's a young up-and-comer on the scene. He's used to packing heads, strangling opposition. And the old stagers just remembered back to what David Bryant told him of all people and just gone, yeah, let's just make it difficult and uncomfortable. And that just paid on the young kid in the end. So that's a great insight that a lot of our regular players just would not hear or even think about.
Yeah, absolutely. That is as it was on the green, true story. And that was my thought process. I can't let, the way the first set went, I can't let the game continue like that. We all like when we're playing to play close balls. It looks great, looks pretty, doesn't it? But if someone's actually beaten you to that sort of point in the green and you're not recovering, even though you could be playing well, it's set up a different challenge, isn't it? And, do what it did. And it worked.
Absolutely. So then we move on to the final, and it's that formidable opposition again. It's Australia. Second time in a row you've made the final. You're up against Australia again, but it's Leif Selby this time. So there's probably no real danger in Leif ripping his shirt off this time around because I don't think he's that type of character, but you just never know. But you won the first set 8-3. You went down in the second set 6-10, and then you got up 4-1 in the tiebreak. What can you remember about that final, mate? Talk us through it.
Oh, so many things from that final. I think the first thing that popped into my head was is like nearly thrown it away, I guess, because again I won the first set and I was up in the second set and felt comfortable. But to me, in the game, even though I lost second set, it was that I didn't think Leif really settled on the rink as quickly as me. And it was interesting because the rink that the final was played on was a rink that I played Sam Tolchard on in the group, and I lost 2-0 in the group stage. And I didn't particularly find the rink, but I had a good chat with Jason Greenslade, who was playing in the Welsh team with us at the time. And he had played on the rink in the evening, which the final was scheduled for. And we had a chat about how it played when I played Sam in the middle of the day to what it played in the evening. And there was distinct change of characteristics of the rink. And it was like, look, you need to play backhand away and forehand back and actually flog those sides of the green because they were the most consistent. So that was basically my game plan. Forget about how I thought I had played or how the rink played with my previous experience on it and just take that into this final. So, which is what I did. Played really solid. As I said, good first set. Up in the second set, and I lost a couple of shots. From thinking I'm going to win this and win gold, like in the second set, to be a couple of points behind. I ended up playing a couple of chancy balls, I guess, to win the title because there's nothing to lose. Trail the bear white to count 2 to draw the set or whatever and get over the line. But anyway, it didn't happen. So ended up in a tie break. So all it was then for me was to try and forget about all thoughts of actually winning the game, which seems strange to go in a tie break and think, forget about winning the game now, because that's what I did in the second set. It was all about now just regroup, focus back to what you started the game as, just play the end and see what happens. So I managed to win the first end, got a couple, and then probably the ball that won it for me was second end, where I think Leafs line a couple, and I played a runner, got the target area I wanted, and moved things around, rattled it around, and made a 2. So 4-0 up, and Dormy 4, one into play, and it was job done, really. So fantastic, and just relief. I managed to get over an Aussie in a Commonwealth Games final, I guess.
Yeah, and he kept his shirt on too, like we said earlier. Mate, but how was that then, standing on top of the podium? Like, you've done it twice. You've done it twice. You did it in 1986 with a team of 4. You've done it yourself in the blue ribbon event in 2014. Just give us an idea, mate, of how that feeling was, standing on top of that podium, watching the Welsh flag be pulled up at the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, so obviously so special, isn't it, to be on top of that podium, hearing your national anthem. 86, yeah, in a 4. But yeah, doing it yourself, being up there on your own, just so emotional, national anthem, flag running up the pole. Because family weren't in Delhi, so it's about that moment, thinking about family at home, watching some of the experiences they must have gone through during that final. But also looking at my teammates who had been at the final supporting and how proud they were to see that moment as well, supporting me. So I don't think anything beats that in sport. Particularly, Commonwealth Games and rostrum, like gold medal. Don't think it can be beaten, really.
Phenomenal, mate. But there is, like, we all start the game, we all watch those Commonwealth Games, we all imagine ourselves winning those medals. But there's just that extra little thing that you can get to do if you're special enough to do it, and you got to do it twice, mate. And that's carrying the flag of the nation at the opening ceremony in 1998, and then you got to do it at the closing ceremony at Delhi in 2010. Like, how did you find out in 1998 you were going to be the flag bearer for the opening ceremony? Like, talk us through that honour.
Well, 98 to find out I was going to carry that flag out in Kuala Lumpur around that stadium, in front of our fellow athletes or the Welsh athletes. So, listen, it was such a surprise that Wales had sort of selected me to receive that accolade. Listen, proud for me, my family, and just the sport of bowls, I think, in Wales, but bowls generally, because it wasn't the norm for a bowler to do that task. It was your world-renowned, recognised athletes and everything like that. So, yeah, I just couldn't believe it. So, as I say, fantastic recognition for me. What made it better was we got my dad out on the plane to come over to Malaysia to see that. But knowing my dad was sat in that stadium, watching me leading that team out, is just brilliant. Absolutely second to none. And I'm just sort of feeling emotional talking about that now, just doing that. It's just so great. I don't know if I've got time to tell you a story about maybe why it didn't nearly happen, that, carrying that flag.
Man, it's your podcast. You go. I'm here as long as you want me.
So, little story on those games just prior to that. Then it was we came to the last Friday evening over in Kuala Lumpur, where there's still 3-4 days to go before the opening ceremony, etc., and the games commence in it. A lot of bowlers do, not everyone, like little glass of beer, just to wind down, whatever. But on this Friday night, which is the last Friday before the games, we were up on one of the rooftop bars in the village, and came closing time about 11 o'clock. And we were all ready to go down. The team of us, the 7 players from Wales. And then Neil Rees, who was over leading in the fours, comes back from the bar with a slab of cans. He plops them on the table and he says, "Weale," he said, "it's Friday night, last one before we start playing, and we agreed that we're not going to have a beer after that and whatever. So we're going to drink these before we go." So he said, "Come on, let's go." So I don't mind the challenge. So we sat there and into the early hours having a little wee beer and whatever. So on our way back to the room, we're going past one of the swimming pools back to our room. Neil grabs me and he said, "Weale, you're going for a swim." I said, "In you go." So he grabs me, I grab him, and we're in the pool. So in his little drawl, he looks at me in the pool and he says, "Weale, now we're in you, we may as well have a swimming race." So I'm like, "Okay, fella, I'm up for the challenge." So we up and down the pool for about 3 laps, squeaking and shrieking and whatever. So we got to our room, clothes off, so it was all cameras, wallets, whatever. So we laid everything out to dry. So anyway, next day, I'm getting into the taxi to go to flag carry and practice with the chef de mission of Wales. And she looks at me and says, "We've got some idiots in our Welsh team." And I said, "Really? What's that?" She said, "You wouldn't believe, early hours of the morning, there's somebody in the pool splashing around, hollering, waking people up. Athletes have got to prepare, got training in the morning. If we knew who that was, we'd be sending them over." And I'm like, "Every right to do so as well." I said, "That's ridiculous."
That's the type of stories we love. That's absolutely brilliant.
No, so I managed to get away with that one. Been a good boy since.
Yeah, good on you, mate. And then obviously 2010. So after winning the gold medal, you've got the honour to walk out at the closing ceremony now.
Yeah, so obviously that one was following the gold medal success there, and I guess with the number of games played and that sort of story, if you like, was picked up on by the other team managers. So I got the vote, and again, just to have that honour and recognition of sort of my participation in games, but I guess achievements of medals that I've got. So I'm just so thankful that I've had the opportunities in my career to do that. It is just a great feeling. It's national pride, isn't it?
Oh, man, I can only imagine just sitting listening to you there talking about how it comes about with the team manager. So you think about it, you're there, you're representing Wales, yes, but you're there as a bowler. So you're very solely focused on your bowls and your bowls career. So although you're there as a team, it's your sport. And everyone's probably got that same thought about the athletics, about the swimming, about the hockey, about netball, about whatever it is. And all them team managers have got together, looked at everyone and gone, well, this Robert Weale fella at bowls, he's the man to carry the flag. There can't be a bigger honour than that, surely.
No, there isn't. Absolutely isn't. It is that recognition and acceptance, isn't it, of bowls and being on that level. And it's become more common, isn't it, that bowls players have had the accolade of carrying flags, opening, closing ceremonies. The flag, isn't it, handing over the game's flag from one game to the next. I know in Australia, as in Karen and Barry received honours, haven't they, regarding those duties. It's good the bowls is in the spotlight and focus, that the players are being recognised on that level.
Well, DJ, I think that's a good spot to put the pause button, and we'll look forward to part 2 coming up next week, because I think you and Robert can talk on and on, both of you. So we'll do a bit of a bit of a pause and a refresh, and we'll come back. Part 2 will come out next week, folks. So, DJ, Robert Weale, what a legend of long bowls.
Man, absolutely brilliant. And like, he's one we would have watched sort of growing up, and you always knew about it, but it wasn't until we really dove into the GOAT debate the other year. And obviously we named him the Welsh male GOAT. But when you really get into his career, man, like, he's only 3-4 bowls away from being the greatest of all time. I mean, he's got 3 silver medals at Commonwealth Games. One of those he lost in a tiebreak, 2-1 to Kelvin Kirko, and he held shot. The other one, he went down by 2 shots. 16-14 in the pairs, and then the 4 years before that, pairs final, went down 18-14 by 4 shots. So, like, he's 3 or 4 bowls away there from having 4 Commonwealth Games gold medals.
Yeah,
across singles and pairs, like, that's unbelievable. It just shows your versatility. And that's just unbelievable. It always seems to be against Australia in the final. Dear love him.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, how good was it to sit down and talk to him? I mean, Rob obviously knew. You tag everyone whenever we talk about them on the podcast.
Yeah,
You've always tagged him. He's had a listen. He's corrected one of the facts, which I still haven't gone back and checked. I still think we were right. But then, just said to him then and then, mate, great to hear from you. Would love to have you on. And then obviously bumping into him in Kuala Lumpur, sharing a taxi with him on the first day. And then, just chatting to him just before Christmas, mate, love to have you on. Had a few chats here or there. We were able to line that up, and a little bit of technical issues we had during that first part, but we think we've got it ironed out for this second part as well. So it should be a good podcast, mate. But it's just good to have the UK view as well. And he talks as well about, how he had a job for 30 years. Like, he doesn't just get to travel around and play bowls. He's got to play indoor, outdoor. He's got to work full time. He's got a family. But mate, it's great to actually, like, you watch these people on TV, you see them winning their medals, but you actually dive into their career and hear it from them. And some great insights in that as well about mindset on the Commonwealth Games. The one that really stood out for me, I think you too, maybe, was the Sam Tolchard game at Delhi.
Stuff, yeah.
You know, where he turns around and says, I just remember something Davy Bryant said to me, and it was, there's a hard section of the green. Back yourself to beat your opponent and put the jack there. And that's what he did. And Sam's just got frustrated and couldn't understand why he couldn't pepper it. Like, he was just peppering it. And Robert, old stager at the time, old head, experience, just went and got the job done, and then went up and got the gold medal. So yeah, mate, really enjoyed that one. It was really, really good. Like, a lot of the guys we've had had relationships with, and we were able to build that pretty quick. But we didn't know Rob from Adam previously. So for him to actually give up his time, like, that was a couple of hours trying to get that done, just because, like we said, technical issues. For him to give up that time to do that for us, and the patience with the technical issues and things they got there, and to actually, like, really dive into things. Like, I'm looking forward to part 2. Part 2's got some very good things coming up there about his career at Potters as well, which obviously we've been talking about. It's just finished recently. We'll not dive into too much of it now. We'll look at that next week, as you said, once Robert's interview concludes. But yeah, mate, very much looking forward to this episode coming out, as it's about to, but then obviously part 2 as well, and putting the two of them together and just hearing what the listeners think of it.
Yeah, like, he was always seen, I think, around the traps whenever we were growing up as well, like on the greens. Like, he was always notorious as always being at Potters and always on that Welsh side, always playing at the big events. Like, his name was always up there, as I remember as a kid, and whenever we were growing up and learning the ropes on the green. And yeah, his name was synonymous, definitely, with, the best in the UK and competing against the best across the world. So great to hear from him, and yeah, looking forward to the second part of that episode.
Again, just the beauty of these things, I mean, being able to actually find out who the person really is. I mean, you watch them on TV, you don't get to talk to him, but you watch him on TV, steely-faced competitor. I mean, I have to say, he's one of the nicest men in bowls. From talking to him there, he is an absolute gentleman. Like I said, for him to give up that time for us and the patience he showed as well. I mean, having to sit there with you, looking on the camera at him, like, he's just absolute gentleman. So hope you all enjoy that one, folks. We will wrap it up here because it was quite a long episode, but we will be back for consecutive weeks like we like to do when we got 2-parters. So enjoy part 1 of Robert Weale. Part 2 will be back next week. We just got to finish off a few questions with Robert, and Simon will get that edited and put out there. But as always, folks, keep that little disc on the inside.
And good luck in those greens. The views, information, or opinions expressed during What a Load of Bulls podcast episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not represent those of any group, organisation, or employer associated or affiliated to individuals. This podcast is for general information purposes only, to educate and inform. This podcast does not constitute professional advice or services. What a Load of Balls does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of any opinions expressed or statements made within episodes.